Good afternoon, everybody. Oh, and for all of us who are joining us online, of course, it's wonderful to have and experience the energy that we have when we come together with the intention of our spiritual path and our spiritual lives. So, a couple of weeks ago, Daniel Nanaimo was here and on the island doing some concerts. Anybody here attend any of those concerts? Yeah, lots of people. Okay, well, he said something that really stuck with me. Actually, he said many things that stuck with me, but here's one of them. He said, it's important that we remember and acknowledge how blessed we are to be in the company and the presence of those who are committed to spiritual learning and living. He said that we could go to many, many places, and we do in our everyday lives, but not have that experience. When we go to the bank, when we go to the grocery store, when we go to our workplace. And he said that's appropriate because that's not their focus. But in person or online, because in spirit it does not matter where we are united when we come together. And what a blessing that is, to have a place like this. And I think of all the places, I'm not going to start off by crying, in the world where people do not have that freedom. And we do. So we are very, very blessed. Perhaps we're new to unity, to New Thought. Perhaps we've been exploring the New Thought principles for decades. And what can happen is that we learn, say, for instance, the 5 principles. And many of us could say them by heart. We could probably even tell somebody else what they are. We've read books on them, done classes on them, heard them on Sunday mornings or afternoons. And the tricky part is, I think, is to putting them into action consistently. Anybody with me? You don't have to raise your hands. You don't have to raise your hands. Do our actions reflect our beliefs? Does how we live include the principles that we espouse? Do we align our words with our beliefs? A woman wrote to Myrtle Fillmore, co-founder of Unity, and she asked for some advice on how to become more prosperous. And this is what Myrtle said. This was part of her response. You can pray earnestly about prosperity for 30 minutes every day, but if you spend the other hours of the day thinking lack and speaking lack, it will come to nothing. So this is the trick, isn't it? Consistency, congruency. Not holding opposing thoughts and beliefs in our minds and our hearts. So you've probably heard the phrase, it's our third unity principle, actually. Thoughts held in mind produce after their kind. Thoughts held in mind. Not fleeting thoughts, not once in a while thoughts, not 15 minutes in meditation thoughts held in mind. So, this is actually the good news. This is very good news, actually. I'm thinking, oh my gosh, so I have to hold all these thoughts, in order for them to become and manifest in my world. The good news is it works both ways, because I don't know about you, but I sincerely hope that every thought that has gone through my mind does not bring any result in my world. Just think about all the thoughts you've had, maybe even today. I hope all of them don't produce after their kind. And to me, this is actually one of the definitions of grace, is that we do not reap everything we sow. So let's go back to our principles. For me, as I mentioned, I can find myself rattling them off. I almost know them too well. I kind of take them for granted. And one of the ways that I keep things fresh for me spiritually is to seek wisdom in other cultures and other faith traditions. And it's not only okay to do this in unity, it is actually following in the footsteps of our founders. I'd like to share some words with you from Charles Fillmore. And this is what he said in 1923 at the first Unity Conference and Healing Revival. And these are his words. This is the first gathering of the movement called Unity. We here have, for nearly 40 years, been studying the attributes of spirit. Unity as a religion does not claim to have discovered anything new. We took the unifying ideas that all religions are essentially good and came to see that they all came from one source. We have borrowed the best from all the religions, and that is the reason we call ourselves unity. So I appreciate this freedom to read about, to explore, to incorporate teachings from any source, as long as I feel like they're aligned with our unity principles, because that is my foundation and my baseline. So today I thought I would share something with you that has been very helpful for me on my path as an evolving spiritual being. Do you all have one of these close by? It should be playing up on the screen for those of you who are joining us online. It's called the Celtic Creed. First, maybe perhaps you would join me in reading this out loud. I honor your gods. I drink at your well. I bring an undefended heart. I have no cherished outcomes. I will not negotiate by withholding. I am not subject to disappointment. Well, the first time I read that, I thought, whoa, that is a lot to ask. It feels very daunting to me. And frankly, impossible, really. But what I have learned over time is to take the things that challenge me or that they seem like they're impossible and explore them for a while and sit with them for a while and use them for a while before I just discard them. So this is posted. I have a little beautiful print of these words. It's posted where I can see it every day as a constant reminder of how I want to live my life, how I want to show up and be in this world. I take it into meditation. I endeavor to practice it every day so that it does bear fruit in my life. These are some of the thoughts I hold in mind. These 6 statements are from another way of life, another time, of course, another culture. They were created as ground rules for negotiation when there had been a truce or a ending to a battle or to war or something like that. But they also hold extraordinary wisdom for everyday living. I honor your gods. When I read this, what comes to me is I know that we all find our own spiritual path, whatever umbrella it is under. Judaism, Buddhism, Hinduism, paganism, Christianity. So this statement means I hold them in esteem, without judgment. I know how much my path means to me, and who would not want to extend the same goodwill to others who are committed to their path. I'm saying that I acknowledge that there are many spiritual paths, and I respect you for yours. I drink at your well. Long ago, part of intimidation and warfare was to poison wells as your armies went into another area, used to create doubt and confusion, of course. Should the village move? Who's going to test the well to see if it's poisoned or not? But let's look at it from a spiritual perspective. What does that mean? I will drink at your well. I drink at your well. I trust you, right, with my life. I'm counting on you that you do not hold any harm for me. I know that drinking at your well, that you have life-affirming and nourishing thoughts and beliefs that could be beneficial for me. What else does that say? I drink at your well. Anybody? I trust you too, yeah. Right, I accept what you have to give. Unconditional love, yes. Very trusting and faith-filled, isn't it? I drink at your well. Next one is, I bring an undefended heart. How many times do we enter into a conversation or an interaction with a wall of defense already in place around us? We come prepared for a fight, perhaps, or to disagree, or to protect ourselves. I'm not talking about physically, I'm talking about emotionally, mentally, spiritually. And how does that conversation go? How does that, when we come with a defended heart, what would that mean to you? How would we have to show up if we came with an undefended heart? What would that look like? Loving, open, listening, attentive, yes. Faith? Yeah, yeah. Without assumption. Unconditional. Accepting, good, yeah. Undefended. If we remember that nothing can hurt us, why would we start on the defense? So, of course, physically we can be hurt. We know that. But I'm talking about if we are a hurtable person, we will experience hurt. If we are a disappointable person, we will experience disappointment. If we're open to that and this is how we live our life, it's going to happen to us. But it does not need to, because in spirit there is nothing that can harm us in our spiritual core. Like that song, I choose love, I choose peace, I choose equanimity. I choose forgiveness. I choose all these good things, right? We do not need to defend ourselves. Nobody can hurt us unless we are open up to that hurt. So for instance, my kids went to an alternative school when they were younger, and I was working in the office, and one day the principal came up to me and said, would you like to be the vice principal? I said, oh, sure, yeah, like vice chair, they never have to do anything. I can do that. Well, you can tell that I never got in trouble in school because I didn't know that the vice principal is a place where you go when you get into trouble. So I had these kids coming into my office. They're little elementary school. So I get these two little boys come in one day. They're like, 7 or something like that. Their faces are red, they're sweaty, they're dirty, they are mad at each other. And they're sitting in this very tiny office. It's like, okay, and one threw sand at the other one. They were in the playground, one threw sand at the other one. So I said, so what's up? What's with the sand? Throwing sand. And he says, he made me do it. And I thought, really? And I turned to the other boy and I said, you can do that? Make me do that. He can't make me do that because I'm already, I'm not influenced in that way. I'm not open to that. Obviously, the other little boy was. So nothing can hurt us. Our actions are ours, our responsibility and accountable for them. I have no cherished outcomes. I'm entering into this conversation with no hidden agenda. I'm putting my own personal wants and needs to the side. I am here, present, open, listening. And I think the word cherished is important, actually, because it implies that we are holding on to something. And it may be very good in our eyes, but it implies that we are already coming into the conversation with something that we hope to achieve or accomplish. Now, there is nothing wrong with having an outcome in mind. Actually, I think that's an important thing. But holding on to it means that we are not willing to be changed by the transaction that's going to happen, right? By another person's input or their ideas, not listening to alternatives. We want our way. When we do that, it is not conducive to a harmonious outcome. Any thoughts on that? I have no cherished outcomes. How would...
First seek to understand.
Yeah, that's a great expression. First seek to understand. Yeah. Anything else? How we would show up if we had no cherished outcomes, if we were just showing up. Yeah, unattached, right. Yeah. Patience? Yes, when we don't have an issue with the outcome. Yeah. Curious. Yes, listening, attentive. I want to hear what you have to say. I have an idea, but it's not a cherished, this is not what I'm holding on to and just waiting for you to finish so that I can put my idea out there. I have no cherished outcomes. I will not negotiate by withholding. I will not be secretive or keep information from you. I will not hold on to something so that I can spring it on you later, to catch you off guard or to give me an advantage. Holding back is like, having a little trick up your sleeve, a secret weapon that you can pull out at any time, not having all your cards on the table. Can you see how this does not create trust or cooperation? I will not negotiate by withholding. Any thoughts on that one? Transparency, sure. Yeah, good. Authenticity, clarity, honesty. What you see is, this is how I'm presenting myself. This is all there is. I don't have any, secret thing up my sleeve. Integrity, sure, yeah. Yeah. The last one, I am not subject to disappointment. Oh my goodness. So how do we get disappointed? What creates disappointment? Expectations, yes. Yeah, being attached to the outcome creates disappointment. Yep. Inflexibility, sure. Okay, failure is an event, not a person. Yes, it's very good. How do we get disappointed? By having expectations, assumptions, by being out of integrity, by wanting something and then not getting it. So how would we show up if at the end we knew we could not be disappointed? Trusting in the process, yeah, good. Anything else? Faith, yeah. We know that there's always a higher intelligence at work. Maybe we could step out of the way, let it. We'd be open, we'd be curious, we'd be attentive, some of the things that you mentioned. Eliminate fear. Yeah. So what if every day, each and every encounter looked like, what would that look like if we knew we could never be disappointed? Every single day. So someone asked me, it's fine if I live like this, but what if the other person that I'm interacting with does not? What if they are defensive or disrespectful or withholding information or closed? And you know what the answer to that is it does not matter. Because this is, not subject to disappointment. Okay, I was hoping we were going to have an honest communication here, but it's not going that way, so I'm good. I'm still good, yeah. So, this is the code I live by, right? And I'm not going to let other people set the bar for my behavior. Are these easy to abide by? I don't think so. They are challenging. Sometimes I miss the mark by miles. Sometimes I do want to close down. Sometimes I do feel like I need to defend myself. Sometimes I do have an outcome I have my heart set on. You can ask my husband. Sometimes I don't trust someone. But what I have learned is this. If I go into a conversation or an interaction holding on to these things, distrust, defensiveness, with my heart set on something, the chances of it being a spirit-led and spirit-directed interaction resulting in the highest and the best for everyone are severely diminished. And so this is why I use the word warrior, because it takes inner strength and faith to walk this path. But the rewards are so great. Using these guidelines fosters understanding, compassion, cooperation, which brings what? What does that bring to the world? Peace, harmony, love, positive action, acceptance. Aren't these what we want to bring more of into the world? Unity, yeah. There's no sides. I read a great book called, There Is No Other. There is no other. We are all birthed from the same creator. And in that, that's where our oneness and our unity lies. So I invite you to look at these from time to time. I know it's up on the screen, but I put some little paper ones there in case you want to take that home. And see if they cause you to kind of up your spiritual game a little bit to a higher level of consciousness and behavior.